Hey everyone, welcome back to our episode one of This is Tech Talk Season 4. We already did 3 seasons, and thanks a lot for all the support you have given us. Season 3 was like really amazing. We almost did 20 episodes and reached more than 10,000 subscribers too. Thanks to all of you for sharing our podcast and listening to it. And we are starting our new year with an amazing guest and great friend, Yanin. How are you, Yanin? And Happy New Year.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you too. I'm very good. I'm very glad to be here. Thank you so much for the invitation. It's a really good way to start the year.
For sure. And to have a guest like you, so it's our honor as well. So we couldn't meet in person. Yanni and me have been like part of GitHub Stars program for quite a few years, and then we keep talking in Slack and keep sharing our stories as just like really inspiring. I read about your stories, Yanni, and then I was like, oh my God, thanks a lot for sharing your stories. I'm sure it inspires a lot of people. I'll also add that blog post here, which you shared with us. So all the people listening to this podcast can read that. So today we are going to talk about rOpensci, which is the project which Yanni actually runs as a community manager. So Yanni will be telling us more about like what she does as part of the community manager, what community manager is, and then of course we want to hear about OpenSci as well. Let's get started. First talk about rOpensci. So what it is?
We like to say that our OpenSci is a community. I know that the word community is used a lot in very different meanings, but when we say community, we think in a community of practice. This is a concept that starts for people who do something, they have a passion, in this case, developing software, and they get together to share and learn how to do it even better. It's a space for learning and sharing without the formality of a university or a classroom. So people get together and share their tips and tricks on how they do their craft. In our case, it's of course open source software that is focused on science. So our community is users and developers in the language R with a focus on open source software for allow the scientists to do what they do, to do different kind of science, from chemistry to physics to ecology to psychology to politics. So that is a wide range of disciplines in the software we build.
Seems like it's very different from other open source projects. Like, for example, if I talk about React or Vue or Angular, which is like a very big library, but it's in case of our OpenSci, it doesn't look like you are actually building a library or a framework. You have some subset of libraries which are built in R. Is it correct?
Yeah. I think that this is one of our difference. We call our community is like a federate model. We think about scientific software. We can think on this big library like NumPy or SciPy. So this is huge teams and really important development that a lot of scientists people use in their computational tasks and processes. In our case, right now, as part of the OpenSci suite, we have more than 300 packages. That is kind of the name that we give to libraries in R. But these are not this big one. These are more like the small, perhaps niche packages for some very needed and useful things that scientists has to do, but are not those big things that get a lot of traction and attention and have a million of users. But we still need it to do the science that we need to do. In R, perhaps one of these big packages is known as the tidyverse that the POSIT people are developing. And here we have the target package, which is one of our biggest one. It's kind of a make, but for R, to create pipelines and workflows. And then we have some package like, for example, Agroclimatico, which is a package for doing weather indices for agriculture with a focus in Latin America. So that is very niche, but we still need to do that science. So it's cool to have a place where people can bring their software. It's going to be peer review for other people so we can increase that quality of the software. Then you are part of a community that is going through the same than you. So if you have an issue, you can ask there. Probably someone will help you to solve. If you are going in another way from your career and you can't maintain that package anymore, we are going to help you to find new maintainers. And if we can find anyone to take over the project, we are going to help you to sunset that project in a tidy way so your users are not get lost when your package are not there anymore. And then we provide some infrastructure, like for example, our universe containers, that is our platform for publishing packages. So we're going to build all the binaries you need. We are going to build WebAssembly so people can use it in the web browser. We are going to build all the documentation in an automatic way so you don't have to take care of that. So there is some infrastructure that we provide. But I think as a community manager that the most important aspect is that you get together with like-minded people that is going through the same. So you have a bunch of people to ask and to share what is going on with your software.
Interesting. Yeah. So if we started with the OpenSci, but I really want to know like about you, like how you started, like how and what you do as part of OpenSci.
Yeah, well, I have a degree in computer science and a master degree in data mining and data science. And then I was a researcher for 24 years here in Argentina. I'm based in South America, in Argentina, doing what we call now research software engineer, that is developing software for doing science. So I have different roles. I started in IT, maintaining servers and being a DBA for some times, and then I become a research software engineer. In 2017, I started being part of international community of practice. I started in Our Ladies, which is kind of one of my favorite community. We try to, I don't know if fight is the right word, but it's the only one that I found now, to fight this gender gap in the community. We try to bring more people to develop software, to the data science aspect, and we try that people come from places. We have a focus in gender, but we also try to bring people from Latin America, Africa, Asia, and places that usually are not so part of this movement, because we have this focus also in open science and in a science that is open and serve the people. So that is kind of the value that is behind, the motivation that is behind this move. So because I started being part of Our Ladies, I then start to collaborate and contribute and volunteer in other communities. So the Carpentries is another one, and rOpensci was another one. So my first contribution has to do with a language barrier. You can listen to my accent. So English is not my native language. I speak Spanish. So I proposed to our OpenSci to try to do the peer review in Spanish. So people who are not fluent in English also have the opportunity to go through the process and improve the quality of the software that they build. And they say yes. So it was pretty cool to be in a community that it was so open to this kind of proposal. And when I saw the opportunity, they were looking for a community management, and they had two new projects. The Champions Program, that is one of that you contribute to us in a community call that I asked you, and you were so cool to say yes, share with our community your experience. And the other was a multilingual project to have material in different language than English. So when I saw those projects, it was like, I want to be part of that. I want to work on that. And that is how I become the rOpensci community manager. And it is my full time now for the last 3 years.
That sounds great, like doing your passion as full-time project or full-time gig. So that's good. And you mentioned Our Lady. I remember meeting Beatriz. She's also one of the GitHub stars
Yeah,
from
yeah.
Brazil. And
Yes.
yeah, she talked about you a lot, like how you inspired her to be there. And now she's also part of GitHub Stars program. So thanks for doing that. Like, thanks for motivating so many people.
No, it's okay. I think that is the only way we have to continue improving. When we had the privilege to be in these places where we get information firsthand, that we see and know a lot of people and other organizations and community. I think we have an obligation to share that with other people in our regions and in our organizations. There is so much talent around the world, and sometimes they just need someone that point them to the opportunity or to the door. They say, hey, this exists, and you are a very good fit to that. And I think that is one of the best things, or have this role of being in these places, that you can point people to opportunities.
Thanks for sharing that. And so let's talk about the community management role, right? So you have been doing community management for full time with rOpensci now for 3 years. So what is your role looks like, and what is your day-to-day work?
I would say that I saw my role as the person who connect other people and build bridges between organizations, institutions, group of people who have as their mission or their value the same kind of goals. Also that create the space, the safe space for those people to work together. So my role means that I need to know my community, my members, what they are working, what they want to do, what the skills and what needs they have, so I can try to connect and to try to find the resources or the spaces they need to do, in this case, the developer of the software for doing science. In the more formal way to describe a community manager, we have 5 competencies. So this role has been defined formally. There is a competency that has to do with communication. That is not only how you talk with other people, but how you spread the word about what you do, give talks, write blog posts, go to podcasts to chat, or be the one who do the interview. So there is this communication aspect. Then there is this interpersonal skills in the way that be able to listen and learn from everyone in your community. Try to be the person who put people in contact. And then we have some more technical skills. In my case, I need to understand about software development and I need to be able to do some of that. Even when coding is not my main work now, I'm still code to, for example, analyze the information from my community. We have metrics. We use GitHub for project management, for example. That is another competency. And the other is program management. And the program management has to do with engagement and opportunities we create for our members. So, for example, the community calls or co-working session, this champions program, that is what we call program management. Things that you create in order to provide or the space to work, or the space to learn or to share for your members, or the space to bring new people, new talent to the community. So that is what I have to do. And of course, all the admin aspect, like trying to get funding, going through what has to do with hiring or looking for partners. I say that because that is the part that I don't like to do so much. I like to work with the people. Yes, I like to write, give talks, bring new people, but we also need all the administration aspect too. So yeah, my day can start on social media and reading, checking what the people say, what we need to answer. Then it can continue organizing some events or writing some materials. I do a lot of documentations too. So I'm the one who also write guidelines for participation in the community, or guidelines if someone wants to write a blog post for us. I also do a lot of that. I like that. Then I'm going to have meetings probably with people. I'm going to read. I'm going to, if someone writes for us, I will be part of the people who edit that and help. I will translate probably. So it's kind of fun. I enjoy doing those tasks.
It's interesting. So, okay, during this thing, you mentioned connecting organizations and resources. So, like, is rOpensci responsible for like getting money or connecting organizations who need the resources to solve some scientific issues? Is that the case?
We are a non-profit organization. We are a project of New Focus. New Focus is our fiscal sponsor, and we function with grants and donations. So part of the funding that we get comes from the staff of rOpensci. I'm the only person full-time. Then we have people who is part-time. And we pay for that time and for the infrastructure. So, for example, everything that has to do with our universe, this publication package system, part of the funding comes from maintain that infrastructure and pay for the person who is the developer and the lead of that infrastructure. And then we also try to be aware and scouting opportunity for the people who is the author and the maintainers of these more than 300 packages, but for them to have opportunities to apply for funding. So we also try to check and share that. And if we can and people ask, we also help or review the grant application of what they are doing to try to get that funding. So yeah, part of my job is to get a lot of newsletter and to go and check webpage of foundations and agencies that can have some offering of funding for open source software in science and let the community know. And sometimes we also get people who say, hey, we would like to do this. We would like you to be our partner in this endeavor. So we analyze that too. And sometimes we apply to grants or opportunity with some other teams and then work together to develop those projects.
Yes, thanks for expanding on that. So one thing which I've seen, like community building is like difficult task. Like I have seen people really struggling with it. I mean, I'm one of them. I also do struggle a bit. So your role, like as a community manager for 3 years, what do you think like this or the strategies which you follow for like a better engagement and collaboration within the community?
Yeah, well, I think that listening is kind of the first things. Try to be aware of what the community need and adapt this program aspect that I mentioned to those needs. So rOpensci has different offering on this program. For example, this community call, and we have also these co-working sessions that we have every month for 2 hours. We are going to be in different time zones, so people from around the world come synchronously to those meetings. And we have this kind of noisy room and quiet room. So in the noisy room, people will be speaking about a different topic every month. And in the quiet room, people come join and will be working in their things. And then we do some social aspect, so like an excavation hunt, and then we share some stuff about us. So we have this social aspect and this working aspect. And it can be a working in teams or solo working, because we use the feedback that the community give us about that. This year we are trying with transforming two of these co-working in 2 months to kind of mini hackathons. So people tell us, hey, it would be cool to have this space to bring new people who will be first time contributions, but and help them in this space. With mentoring, with people who has experience, that is a safe space. So we are going to try that after this feedback. We are going to have a community call January 20 for people to tell about their experience being open source contributor, people who have a lot of experience, people who is really new. And then in February 4 and March 4, we are going to have these 2 hours mini hackathon. So anyone who wants to come to try to do a first time contribution, we are going to have mentors there that will be waiting for you and help you through the process to do your first pull request and your first contribution. So I think that this engagement is, we also need to accept that will change because people life change. Even us,
Mhm.
I guess we had
Yeah.
been different, engaged in different moments of our life, and perhaps with some project, and now we are not part anymore, and we are focusing other projects. So that happens too, and it is okay. That happens. We don't have to feel bad because of that, and we need to understand that we need to change sometimes something that was successful and work perhaps 2 years ago is something that is not going to work now. And even if sometimes we don't entirely understand why, it's good to have the flexibility to shift to something that the community is asking now, even with all the pain that can be. They say, hey, this was so cool, I am enjoying to doing this, but it's not working anymore. So we need to move to another kind of activity that is useful for our members. So for that, listening and have this loop of feedback is pretty important. And of course, it's more easy if you have someone like me that is getting paid for doing that, because I have the time for read the feedback and made new proposals and try new things.
So for feedback thing, like so what you do, you run like a survey or what you do?
Yes. Yeah, we have for our maintainers, we have an annual survey where we ask them. There is some question that we repeat every year, and then there is some question that we change according what happened in the year. So there is we have that feedback there for the maintainers of the software. Then we have feedback after every event. We request feedback for the people who attend, and that one we review immediately after the event, so we can already apply the feedback for the next one. And then we have many open ways for people to interact. So we have our forum, who is open. And then, for example, for the community call, we have a repo where people can create an issue with the topics they would like to have. So, and I will take that and try to organize based on how the community react to every topics. But that is open and is there for anyone who wants to contribute. So for the maintainer survey, it's only for them. we use Airtable as the way to have the form and where we get the data. And for the other ones, depends on how we organize the event, but it can be shared document where people just write what they think. It can be a form that we send and people fill out. Usually it's an Airtable form. That is how we collect that feedback.
Okay. My next question would be around the same community management topic. One very important thing is about keeping your community very inclusive and diverse, right? And I have seen this is not something which is like someone told me, but I have seen around talking to people I met Beatrice and she was like really talking good thing about the OpenSci community and seems like they're doing good job. So how do you do that? Like what are your, I would say, thoughts to the community, like how people should be doing this?
Yeah, I think that we try to do inclusive by design. Like when we start something from scratch, it's going to try to be inclusive. Our OpenSci is one of the project of NumFocus that has the gender gap in contributions in our OpenSci is one of the minimal one. Kind of the people who contribute as developer is not the things that is mostly men and really few women. So it is in our OpenSci, it is already in this role that usually is not the common things in the space. But then we try to do things on purpose from the beginning. So when we invite people to participate in our events, we always try to have in our panelists gender representation. It is not a panel. It is not a white panel either. We try to have people from different countries with different levels of experience. Our champions program is focused on people who are part of groups that are usually excluded from the open science and open source. So we choose people from regions and communities that are difficult for them to participate. In the two cohort we already have, we have blind developers, for example. We try to be intentional in this. We get feedback from the groups that we try to focus. So this year in 2025, we are going to start one of the cohort of the Champions program is going to be entirely in Spanish with a focus in Latin America. And that comes from because in the two first group, more than 40% of the people who apply come from Latin America. So we need to do it in the language that the region speak the most. We are going to do work to be able to do one in Portuguese pretty soon, we hope. So that is what I mean inclusion by design. Is say, okay, this is the groups we are focusing. Let's talk with this group of people to see what they need, and let's try to design with their feedback. You know, this idea, nothing for us without us, is we try to respect that a lot. And we listen. Like, again, this is the feedback. When we have our blind developers, we change some of the tools we use so we're more accessible for screen readers for them. We modify our training material and the way we teach. We use a lot of light coding. We still do the light coding, but with the script more aloud so people can follow up even if they can see our screen. We share all the material in advance so they can go through the material and let us know if there is something that is not accessible. So we are willing to change our ways to do things so we can include more people. It is a lot of work. I think that is the work we have to do. It's completely worthwhile.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. So I think we are almost at the end of the podcast, and I would like to ask one question. It seems like you are enjoying this role of being a community manager. In your experience, what is the most rewarding experience so far managing this rOpensci community?
I think that for me has been these two projects, the multilingual project to have material in other language than English, even to create the first version of the material in Spanish or in Portuguese and then translate to English. That has felt so cool. And then to see all the people who start to being part of the community because now they feel they can be part. They see someone like them in me. If you want to, like, okay, if Shani can be part of this, then I can be part too. And to see this change on the perception that they can be software developers, you know, that start to have this idea that you are a user that you are someone who uses software to realize that you have the skills to be the one who create that software. That is amazing. To see that change in how persons see themselves that is incredible. That is one of the things that I enjoy the most.
So true. I mean, I can totally relate to the last line you said. When even like when in community someone comes to me and says, "Okay, I got inspired by your story," because they feel connected, right? They feel connected, and probably at the same phase of the life where probably this guy was. I'll wrap up with some last question. Generally, we ask our guests if they want to promote anything apart from what we have discussed, any personal project or anything, or your sponsorship.
Yeah, I mean, I talk a lot about our rOpensci. We mentioned a little bit about our ladies. I also want to mention the carpentries, with each another community of practice who teach computational skills to scientists. So these three nonprofits they are very important for me, because I also think that education is the way for many people to achieve and improve their life, and the life of the people they live with. So please go check these places and join and support if you can. Our ladies, the carpentries, and our rOpensci.
Make sure that links are added into the description so people can just go ahead and support the project. Thank you so much, Yanni. I mean, it was great talking to you and great seeing you after a long time.
Thank you. Thank you so much for this opportunity to share with all the people who listen to you about this and about these passions that I have. Thank you so much for the space.
So thank you, everyone. Thank you for listening to this episode, and we'll be back with our second episode soon. So keep watching, and thanks for listening to us. Bye, everyone.